I'm back, motherfuckers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lightning Flash Update Part 2. Here on June 14th, 2019. And here for the news, rumors, and reports section of the Lightning Flash Update. I only have 3. But 2 of them are huge reports that have been circulating the wrestling world for the last 4 to 5 days. One report, or my first report rather, comes from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio by way of Cage Side Seats, and they reported that Charlotte has missed some house shows alongside Andrade after the death of his mother. She could miss more time for the same reason. Now, for those of you who are unaware, Andrade did lose his mother just hours after his match at Super ShowDown against Finn Balor, which is why Andrade wasn't on Raw or SmackDown. Charlotte is taking time off for that same reason, to mourn with Andrade. I would like to say my thoughts and prayers go out to Andrade and his family. My condolences go out to him and his family. I wish nothing, but the best for Andrade and his family. And I do hope that when Andrade gets back, I do hope Andrade receives a big push. By the way, that's unrelated, but I know what it's like to lose a close family member. Everyone does in this day and age. My prayers are with Andrade. I hope things get better for him and his family sooner rather than later. I didn't really want to spend too much time on that because the next 2 reports that I have are huge. And I did say I did have a huge report regarding Roman Reigns, and you are going to want to hear this report about Roman. A couple of sources have reported this next report, which I'm about to read. And I'm going to try my best to keep everything under control. I did yell, I did scream in the Lightning Flash Update part number 1 when I ranted and raved about the weekly shows, specifically Raw and SmackDown. This report has been circulating the wrestling community for the last 48 hours, and this report regards one Shane McMahon. WrestleVotes tweeted, and I quote, "I've asked what the payoff is to this major Shane McMahon push and TV allotment. No one seems to have a solid answer. One source said he could see, parentheses, just his speculation here, close the parentheses in all caps, Shane being the one to defeat Kofi for the title. That would be something." Now, multiple IWC community sources, including WrestleTalk and Cultaholic, both cited this specific tweet from WrestleVotes in their latest reports on Shane McMahon himself. I'm trying to come off in a professional manner, because like I said, I screamed before in the Lightning Flash Update Part 1 when I ranted and raved about the weekly shows, and I really don't want to scream. I really don't want to yell. I don't want to, fuck up my throat anymore. If you guys are a fan of your boy Chris, shout out to Chris, who appeared on the 14 StormsStream. I was watching episode 31 of the reality podcast the other day. If you have not checked him out, you need to check him out. He is an absolute fucking mastermind. I was watching episode 31 of the reality podcast where he himself addressed this specific report. And he gave his thoughts and his analysis on this report. There's realistically nothing that I can say that he didn't already state in that reality podcast video the other day. There's nothing that I can say that he hasn't already said. He took the words right out of my mouth. But I am going to say something. I'm going to say a few things. I need to start off by saying this. Shane McMahon, and I stated this on the Lightning Flash Update Part 1. Shane McMahon has been featured every single week on main roster programming, whether that be on Raw, SmackDown, or both shows, every week for the last 7 months, since November. Coming up on 8 months. At the end of this month, it will be a full 8 months. Think about that. 7 straight months, Shane McMahon has appeared on either Raw, SmackDown, or both shows every week. But yet Shinsuke Nakamura, who is in a WWE Championship program with AJ Styles last year, he was taken off of television during his United States Championship reign. He was put on the pre-show for the Rumble. He was put on the pre-show for Fastlane. He was put in a meaningless Fatal 4-Way match for the SmackDown Live Tag Team titles, which he lost, and he's been off of television since April. Asuka won the SmackDown Live Women's Championship in a great triple threat TLC match with Charlotte and Becky Lynch back in December. She has a great match with Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble this year. She was taken off of television for 4 weeks. 4 weeks, merely to come back, have a match, a terrible match at that, with Mandy Rose at Fastlane, and then lose the title to Charlotte just 2 weeks before WrestleMania. One of your champions, your SmackDown Women's Champion, was off television for a solid month, only to get put in an interim match with Mandy Rose, who wasn't even ready for a championship match, and then lose the title back to Charlotte. The War Raiders, the Viking Raiders, the Viking Experience, whatever the fuck you call them. They were brought up after they had a Match of the Year candidate. A Match of the Year candidate with Ricochet and Aleister Black to kick off NXT TakeOver New York. One of the best tag team matches of 2019 thus far. They get called up. They relinquish the NXT tag team titles. They beat the Raw Tag Team Champions, Hawkins and Ryder, when they were the Tag Team Champions. And then they disappear for a month, only to get eliminated by Titus O'Neil in the 50-man over-the-top rope battle royal at Super ShowDown. Then they don't even get a Raw Tag Team title opportunity. Instead, they give it to the Usos and the Revival, who have been losing to each other for the past number of weeks. EC3, a guy who has so much potential, doesn't even get 5 minutes of TV time unless it's in a worthless segment regarding R-Truth and the 24/7 championship. Might I remind you that this guy defeated Dean Ambrose, aka Jon Moxley, in his first match on the main roster. Aleister Black is still backstage, waiting for someone to pick a fight with him. He barely gets 2 minutes of television time in a sit-down backstage pre-recorded promo. All the while, Shane McMahon is either on Raw or SmackDown or both shows every week for the last 7 to 8 months. I could go on and on and on. I could literally sit here for 5 hours plus. This video could go 5 fucking hours. And I could literally sit here and name all the talent. I could literally go through all the talent and give you reason upon reason upon reason upon reason why Shane McMahon shouldn't even be near the WWE Championship. Shouldn't even be on television, period. Said this before and I'll say it again. They overexposed, they overplayed, and they overbooked the Shane McMahon heel character to a point where Shane McMahon has become another Brock Lesnar. What do I mean by that? Brock Lesnar held the Universal title hostage for nearly 700 days over a combined 2 reigns. Brock Lesnar was booked to a position where he has go-away heat, and people legitimately don't care to see Brock Lesnar anymore. Brock Lesnar has go-away heat. Shane McMahon, after WrestleMania, swooped right into that go-away heat territory. Shane McMahon was overbooked, overplayed, and overdone, just like Brock Lesnar was overbooked, overplayed, and overdone with the Universal Championship. Now Shane McMahon has go-away heat. This Shane McMahon heel character should have been good for 1 month and 1 month only. The Miz should have beaten Shane McMahon at WrestleMania, and Shane McMahon should have never seen television for the next year. Shane McMahon should have not seen television for the next year. The Miz should have moved on to bigger and better things. Miz should have moved on to Monday Night Raw. He could have been put in the Universal or the WWE United States Championship title picture. But instead, you had the feud continue to Money in the Bank. You had Shane McMahon win. Now you had Shane McMahon go into a feud with Roman Reigns. Miz is a cheerleader on the side, and Shane McMahon taps out The Miz again on SmackDown. So now Shane McMahon is 3-0 against The Miz. I do not know why Vince or anyone backstage, most likely it's Vince, thinks that his son is going to generate ratings. Shane McMahon has single-handedly become one of the worst things about WWE right now. He's not funny. He's not entertaining. He's not good in any way, shape, or form right now. He's not. He was. I love the Shane McMahon heel gimmick. But there comes a point in time where certain shit cannot be pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed for so long. Certain shit like that can't be pushed for very long. Shane McMahon should have been gone after WrestleMania. I genuinely don't know why they're having Shane McMahon stick around after WrestleMania. I really genuinely don't know why anyone in the company would be okay with Shane McMahon as their top heel. Meanwhile, I just named numerous amounts of superstars, and there's plenty more. There's plenty more superstars that Shane McMahon is taking up so much precious time, so much more deserving superstars like Cedric and Murphy and Kyrie and Rusev, a few that I haven't named. I really don't know what else to say. Again, there's really nothing that I can say that I haven't already said or that you haven't heard someone else already say before. I am just mind-boggled that this is even an idea and this is even speculation. I am mind-boggled that this is even a thought backstage. All I will say is, if Shane McMahon becomes a WWE champion, if he's the one to defeat Kofi, whenever that may be, God help us. If I was to sum it up in 3 words, God help us. If this happens, and whenever this takes place, most likely it'll take place at SummerSlam. If this takes place at SummerSlam, I'm not even going to do a SummerSlam rewind. I am not even going to do a SummerSlam rewind. I'm just going to pretend like it never happened. I very well might shut off SummerSlam. If this happens, I very well may shut off SummerSlam. Whenever this match takes place, I will shut off SummerSlam. I'm not even going to watch the rest of the event. And I'm not going to do a review for SummerSlam. Shane McMahon, the more we see him on television, the more the ratings are going to tank. The more the ratings are going to tank, the more fans that WWE will lose. If you are genuinely invested in Shane McMahon and what Shane McMahon is doing, you either have to be a gullible child under the age of 12, or you have to be the biggest dumbass walking the planet today. You have to be the biggest WWE cocksucker walking the planet today. I genuinely don't give a shit who you are or what you're going through. I don't give a shit if you have anxiety. I don't give a shit if you have depression. I don't give a shit if you use wrestling as an escape. I don't give a fuck. This shit cannot be supported. Shit like this is pure mediocrity. It is pure trash. It is pure garbage. It's not good. There is literally no evidence, no substantive information, and no facts to back up anyone's claim that states this is good storytelling. Shane McMahon is not a good heel. Shane McMahon's not a good heel. Shane McMahon has overstayed his welcome. And Shane McMahon, as the WWE champion, will only further bury this company. It's only going to further bury this company. No amount of money is going to justify it. And no amount of stupidity that you speak will justify it. If you are going to justify this trash, you do not belong anywhere near wrestling-related material. You do not deserve access to social media. You don't deserve the rights or privileges that we have in this life. I've said this numerous times, and I have no regret for what I said. I have no regret for what I say, and I'm not going to have any regret for saying this again. If you're going to justify this mediocrity, or attempt to justify this mediocrity, whenever you pass away, whether that be 30, 40, 50, 60 years from now, this world will be better when the people that try and justify this garbage are dead and gone. When you are 6 feet under, you are going to be much better off, and the world will be much better off. The world is going to be a better place when these stupid people that try and justify this mediocrity are dead. Stupidity doesn't deserve respect. I say it all the time. I should make that into a t-shirt. Stupidity doesn't deserve respect. You don't deserve respect if you're going to be stupid. You want my respect? Be fucking intelligent. You want my respect? Be intelligent and don't support mediocrity. Get with the program. God help us if Shane is WWE Champion. Now for the main event. For the main event that you've all been waiting for. You are going to want to strap in because there is a lot to digest in this Roman Reigns report. My friend Chrissy, if you're watching, shout out to you. My friend Chrissy told me a story a little while back. We were texting. She told me a story about how Roman and Vince had a backstage altercation after Roman's match against Shane McMahon at Super ShowDown. And originally when she told me, I didn't believe her. So she sent me a video from this channel run by a guy named Nick. The channel is called The Sports Entertainer. This channel has about 55,000 subs plus. Now, I have never heard of this guy. I've never heard of The Sports Entertainer. This is literally the first video that I've ever watched of his. If you want to go watch the video, look up The Sports Entertainer. And the video has a thumbnail of Roman Reigns and Vince McMahon in it. If you want to go watch this video, you can. It's about 4.5 minutes. So this guy named Nick, he apparently has 55,000 subs, and he is the only source that has reported on this issue. I have not heard anything from Dave Meltzer, Cage Side Seats, Sean Ross Sapp, PW Insider, WrestleVotes, nobody. I have not heard anything from anyone else other than this one source. He said there were sources that clarified these apparent, what's the word that I'm looking for? There's apparently sources that clarified that these events took place, but he did not specify the sources. So the Sports Entertainer, aka Nick, brought up the fact that prior to Roman's leukemia announcement, Roman told Vince McMahon back in September of 2018 that he had no interest of performing at the Crown Jewel pay-per-view event. Apparently, it was the same issue around this time, and Roman had to be convinced to perform at Super ShowDown this past Friday. According to one of Nick's sources, which he did not specify, Roman was under the belief that he would be going over Shane McMahon. Vince McMahon had informed Roman that Shane would be going over, which did not sit well with Roman himself, as he was under the impression and he had hoped that this feud after Super ShowDown with Shane McMahon was over with and finished with. He felt he would be moving on to something bigger and better after Shane, after Super ShowDown. Neither Roman nor Vince were pleased at the way that the match went between Shane and Roman. Another unspecified source said that when Roman went backstage after the match with Shane, he passed Vince and mumbled under his breath, and I quote, "So that's why you forced me to come to Saudi Arabia. Awesome job." Nick, obviously the Sports Entertainer, continued by stating that Vince responded in a hostile manner with, and I quote, "Get out of my sight and get back to me when you're over." Reigns snickered and walked away. Reigns then informed Vince McMahon before the flight back home to the United States that he had no interest in returning to Saudi Arabia for the November 2019 event, which did not sit well with Vince McMahon himself at all. When I first heard this story, I'm like, there's no fucking way. There is no fucking way, because this just doesn't sound realistic. This just doesn't sound like Vince McMahon. Roman has been Vince McMahon's butt puppet. Vince McMahon has been having an affair, figuratively, with Roman Reigns for the last 4 to 5 years. Vince McMahon would gladly jump off a bridge, sell his children, and donate his pancreas to get Roman Reigns over in the way that WWE wants him to get over. Hell, there was even a report just last year that Jinder Mahal was being punished because Vince McMahon was blaming Jinder Mahal for the way that the match with Roman Reigns back at Money in the Bank 2018 went down. They punished Jinder and blamed Jinder. Now, Jinder is a shit wrestler in his own right, but the blame was really on WWE management. The blame was on WWE management for booking Roman and Jinder in that match to begin with, but they blamed Jinder and left Roman Reigns alone as Roman Reigns went on to face Lesnar and win the Universal title at SummerSlam. So just based on all those facts alone, I was thinking to myself, there's no way. There's no way that this report could be legit. Then I started giving it some thought. With everything that's been happening the past 6 months, what with everyone asking for their releases, like Luke Harper, Mike Kanellis, The Revival, The Good Brothers, Sasha Banks walking out, AEW's Double or Nothing event, and Jon Moxley showing up, the decline in ratings, the fact that nothing that Vince McMahon has been doing to boost up the ratings has been working, Vince McMahon himself, is frustrated. Vince, is frustrated. He's frustrated with the releases. He's frustrated with the decline in ratings. He's frustrated with the appearance of Jon Moxley and what he said on the Talk is Jericho podcast. Vince McMahon is essentially a ticking time bomb set to go off on anyone. Now, regarding Roman Reigns, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There is no doubt in my mind that Roman Reigns is lazy and complacent when it comes to his character and his character portrayal and his character booking. If Roman Reigns genuinely cared about his character, he would have gone to Vince McMahon a long time ago and say, this babyface thing, it's not working. I think it's time that I turn heel. He would have said that a long time ago to Vince McMahon. Said that a long, long time ago. And there's been no reports whatsoever about Roman Reigns going to Vince and stating something along those lines. So there's no doubt in my mind that Roman Reigns doesn't care about his character whatsoever, and he's lazy and complacent when it comes to his character. But after what happened at Super ShowDown, and the fact that Roman thought he'd be moving on to something bigger and better than Shane, I stand by Roman Reigns 1,000% in this instance. Even Roman knows that this storyline with Shane is jack shit. Even Roman knows that Shane McMahon is a complete waste of time on WWE television. Even Roman knows that he deserves better than a feud with Shane McMahon of all people. Even Roman knows. And you know something? I do not blame Roman one bit for not wanting to go to Saudi Arabia. I do not blame Roman one bit for being frustrated. I do not blame Roman one bit for being angry. Should this be true, I do not blame Roman Reigns one bit for being angry that Shane McMahon of all people is going over younger talent like The Miz and Roman, and most likely could very well go over Kofi Kingston and win the WWE Championship. I am not blaming Roman whatsoever if this is true. Now, regarding Roman's comment, or excuse me, Vince's comment, saying, get out of my sight and get back to me when you're over, that just doesn't really strike me as something that Vince would say. That doesn't really strike me as something that Vince would say. Because I don't really think he would know what over means. Because it's a big shock because Vince McMahon's been the one that's been pushing Roman Reigns down everyone's throats for the last 5 years, even though people have outwardly expressed that we don't want him in this position, he doesn't deserve this position, he's not ready in this position, and this position is not working for him. He's a complete flop in the position that you're putting him in. So again, I'm 50-50 on this. I'm really 50-50 on this. Now, this report could explain why Roman Reigns wasn't on television on Raw or SmackDown. He very well could not be on television on Raw or SmackDown next week either. I have a theory. I have a theory to test out if this is true. I have a theory to test out if this is true. And I want you guys to think about this for a minute. Vince McMahon is one of the most pettiest bastards walking the planet today. Vince McMahon is all about pettiness. Vince McMahon will do anything out of pettiness because he can't put his personal feelings aside for the greater good of business. I mean, after all, look at what he did to the Revival. Look at what he did to the Revival just 2 months ago, having them scoot on their asses in the ring because the Usos put Usi Hot on their gear. Because the Revival wouldn't sign new contracts. We all know that Vince McMahon is one of the pettiest bastards walking the planet today. After all, I mean, like, again, if you need any more reason, look at what happened on the Firefly Funhouse. How Rambling Rabbit was scripted to say, or whoever played Rambling Rabbit was scripted to say, I'm going to tell people what's really going on backstage. Pretty much taking a shot at Jon Moxley for saying what he said on the Talk is Jericho podcast. Roman Reigns is currently slated to face off against one Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds. Up until I read this report, and I'm pretty sure everyone was under this speculation that Roman Reigns would be going over Drew McIntyre at Stomping Grounds. The theory that I have to test out if this report is actually true, if this is true, do not be surprised if Drew McIntyre defeats Roman Reigns at Stomping Grounds and Vince McMahon books Drew McIntyre to defeat Roman Reigns at Stomping Grounds out of sheer pettiness. No one is immune to the ticking time bomb that is Vince McMahon. His own frustration, and Vince McMahon only has himself to blame. Vince McMahon only has himself to blame that the ratings are down, people want to leave, and backstage morale is at an all-time low. Vince McMahon only has himself to blame, but Vince, being the stubborn bastard that he is, he can't admit when he's wrong. That's the problem. Vince can't admit when he's wrong. Vince McMahon has been in the wrong for the last 4 years, the last 5 years, the last half a decade with the way that he's been portraying the main roster product and shows. But he can't admit that. He is the cause of his own frustration. Like Dean said, like Moxley said, Vince is going to die in the chair. Vince has himself to blame for his own frustrations, and no one is immune to Vince McMahon's frustrations. He's willing to take it out on anyone, even Roman. And if this report is true, don't be surprised if I would not be surprised if Vince books Drew McIntyre to defeat Roman at Stomping Grounds, because Vince McMahon is pissed off at Roman Reigns, and he's going to book out of sheer pettiness and have Drew McIntyre go over Roman. Now, McIntyre should go over Roman regardless, but out of pure pettiness, That just goes to show you that there is much more wrong with Vince McMahon than you think. Drew McIntyre should realistically be the top heel on Monday Night Raw. Drew McIntyre should have gone over Roman at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre should have been put in a match with Lesnar at Super ShowDown instead of Lesnar coming out to do 2 minutes of work and get beaten down by Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre should have gone on to face Lesnar at Super ShowDown. Drew McIntyre should have beaten Lesnar. And Drew McIntyre should have been built up over the course of the next few months to take the title off of Rollins at SummerSlam. Drew McIntyre should not be booked to get wins out of pure pettiness. But if this report is true, I won't be surprised. Don't be surprised. If this report is true, I'm telling you right now, if Drew McIntyre beats Roman Reigns at Stomping Grounds, then there is no doubt in my mind that this report's pretty much true. I mean, unless we hear anything else from other sources around the wrestling community. Because again, this is the only source that I have that has reported this. No Dave Meltzer, no Sean Ross Sapp, no Cage Side Seats, no PW Insider, no WrestleVotes, no nothing. No nothing. I keep track of everything. I keep track of every source in the wrestling community. The Sports Entertainer is the only source that I have for this specific report. I really don't know what to make of this report, but holy shit. If this is true, there is much more fucked up with Vince McMahon than we thought. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of the Lightning Flash Update. That wraps up Lightning Flash Update Part 2. I would like to thank each and every single one of you who tuned into this video. Do not forget to follow me on Twitter at Man of Infamy. Follow me on Instagram at TheDJStorms. Do not forget to check out the Lightning Flash Update Part 1 and the 14th Special Edition StormsStream with Chris from Loring. Both links will be in the description. I want you guys to hit that thumbs up. We're going to try and get this video to 15 thumbs up. I also want you guys to comment down below, what do you think about this Roman Reigns report? What do you think about this Roman Reigns report? I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions about this Roman Reigns report. I also want you guys to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. We are on the road toward 1,200. We are so close. We are less than 45 subscribers away from 1,200 subscribers. I also want you guys to hit that notifications bell with the huge purple Rainmaker elbow drop. That way, you will know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, it's the best time to be on YouTube. And keep a close eye out, because the first ever Thunderscope live stream is coming. Keep your eyes peeled, folks. And I'm also working very diligently on getting a guest on for the 15th Special Edition StormsStream. I don't know who it's going to be, but I will get someone on ASAP. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms. This has been Lightning Flash Update Part 2. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Next week, also, I will get the rundown for Stomping Grounds up for you guys. Hope you guys have a great weekend.